Hello, this is Molly Reamer with Bridget's Grove and 30 Days of Goddess, and I'd love to welcome you to our April practice. And before we get started with the things I'd like to share, I'd like to invite you to take a nice deep breath and call yourself into your body, into this time and this place. Remembering that you always have what you need within you, no matter what swirls and whirls and howls, no matter what tugs at you for time. You have your breath, you have your body, you have the rich resources of your inner life to support you. You have the earth beneath your feet, you have the sky above you. So deep breath and allowing yourself to center into the present, to call your spirit back, to call yourself back home. And if it feels good to you, you may wish to put a hand on your forehead. Goddess, guide me. Peace, fill me. Life, weave me. Thank you so much for being here, for joining in with our daily practice. 30 Days of Goddess has been going on for 800 days now, a little bit more than 800 days in a row, but there is always a place for you, whether this is your first day or your 31st day or your 800th and 810th day. Hello, Karen. So there are many places for you to be. There's many ways to participate. And I really like to emphasize that a 30 Days of Goddess practice can be as simple as a 15-second practice of presence, like the forehead, hand to the heart, and then to the belly. It can be a 15-second practice of presence. It can be 2 hours with your prayer book and with your colored pens and with your writing and with the sacred space all around you. It can look different on different days, or it can be the same overall container, which then holds space for infinite experiencing. There's many, many different ways to practice. And 30 Days of Goddess is all about making space for the sacred and for yourself in your very own life. So if that is 15 seconds or 15 minutes or an hour and a half, there is no wrong way. There is no wrong way. It's about creating practices that help to nourish and sustain you right where you are in your life as it is. And what I have found through the process of 30 Days of Goddess is that it opens up so much more. So you may think you're just embarking on this little journey, but what you unlock is more magic and more satisfaction and more happiness and more connection and more moments of sacred experiencing, because you allowed yourself that little doorway, that crack of possibility, and that invitation accepted into a small practice or into a small moment of connection, a small pause, and then it cracks the door open to so many more things, to so many more possibilities and so many more experiences. So I'd like to go ahead and read the poem from the beginning of the prayer book for April. This is a good time to remind you that prayer books are not this April prayer book is not available in the Etsy shop like it used to be. It is available via lulu.com, and I will link to that direct link for purchasing the prayer book right below. There's also print your own files available via 30daysofgoddess.com, and then of course additional practice expansions for members of our Goddess Magic community on Patreon, which is patreon.com/goddessmagic. So the prayer books, lulu.com for those, everything else, 30daysofgoddess.com. And then from there, you can pretty much get anything you need and go anywhere you want to from that point forward. So let me go ahead and read that poem, and then I have a couple more things I'd like to share with you this month. Pause wherever you are. Rest your hands against your heart and connect with where you are right now. Open your left hand and feel the air curl easy across your palm. Open your right hand and feel how life flows on and on. So many threads crossing and connecting and weaving the world's story. Tip your head up and feel the fire above you and how it warms you. Plant your feet and feel the strong and steady earth beneath you. Bring your hands back to your heart and feel them there, warm and loving. You are connected here in life's great rhythm. Okay, so our theme for April is going to be love. I do not pick these very far in advance. They just come to me, quotes or poems or pieces of writing. Something will spark my attention or catch my awareness, and I think that is the theme. So I have a couple things to share with you this month's practice update about love. One of the things I did want to remind you is we do have monthly practice snapshot cards that go with the month's practice to give you kind of an overview, and you can access those at 30daysofgoddess.com. Expansions go to the Goddess Magic community, but the starter pack and the basic snapshots are available for you at 30daysofgoddess.com. And then we do also have cut your own cards for April and May actually available now. They actually have different backgrounds than these. I have some spring themed backgrounds that Mark whipped up for me to use for the cards for April. So you will actually see those available for you in the shop for the cut your own expansions. But I really am pleased with how the snapshot cards are working and providing that container to come back to, that reminder, that reaffirmation for us to return to. So those are available to you. And our theme is love. And so I have several things to share with you about that. And that is based on it's based on two quotes from the book I Promised Myself by Patricia Lynn Riley. And there's a lot of great quotes in there, and these two really caught my eye, and I wanted to share them for you about love. So we can think about love in many ways. Like, do we love ourselves? Do we love our lives? I keep coming back to that, like, is this a life I love? Because here we are right now, miracle of miracles, marvel of marvels. We might as well be living lives we love, because this is what we have. And so I return to that a lot for myself. Like, is this a life I love? And then also, though, are we living as if we loved ourselves? Are we acting with love to ourselves? Are we acting with love to the people around us? Are we treating other people with love? Are we doing work that we love? Do we love where we are? Do we love our place? Do we love our practices? Do we let our love through? Do we let love shine through us? And can we trust that we are held by and supported by love? Can we trust that we are allowed to live lives we love? That we can do work that we love? That we can treat one another with love? And that we can look upon ourselves with eyes of love? So, two quotes for you from that book. And they're not actually... They're in the book, but they're actually from other people's books. So the first one is from Margot Anand. I shared this in a live for the Goddess Magic people already, so that might be familiar to you, but I really wanted to bring it into this practice for April. Loving yourself does not mean being self-absorbed or disregarding others. It means welcoming yourself as the most honored guest in your own heart, worthy of respect, a lovable companion. So what would happen if you allowed yourself to be the most honored guest in your own heart? I love this question. I love this quote. I love this invitation to consider. What would happen if you allowed yourself to be the most honored guest in your own heart? So loving ourselves does not mean being selfish and disregarding others. It just means welcoming ourselves in as the most honored guest in our own heart. So I always say that about 30 Days of Goddess being about making space for the sacred and ourselves in our own lives. Well, what about making space for ourselves in our own hearts? Making space for ourselves as an honored and worthy guest in our own hearts. So loved that. May you welcome yourself as the most honored guest in your own heart. And then the other one is from Paula Reeves, and it is this: life is swift and precious while it's in our grasp. Loving yourself is such a small act of appreciation for the everlasting love that breathes you into being and on whose wings you will be carried when it's time to leave this life. So I loved that too. I know particularly people who are socialized as women are are discouraged from, spending too much time on themselves, for being quote unquote selfish, for taking care of their own needs. They are celebrated sometimes for being self-sacrificing, for giving everything up for other people, and even, celebrated for, she never thought about herself, she always gave to other people. And I think it's important to remember that, like, loving yourself is just a small act of appreciation for the love that breathed you into the being and the love that carries you through your day. Loving yourself is something almost like it's a responsibility. It's a responsibility in this act of appreciation for the love that breathed you into being. So I really liked that one as well. And then the final thing that I wanted to share with you today was, it came up during our live circle. We do have a live circle every month, Simple and Sacred. It is open to people on the 30 Days of Goddess mailing list, which you can access via 30daysofgoddess.com. Replays go out to the Goddess Magic community members, but the basic circle is open to everybody, Simple and Sacred, once a month on the second Friday. And I'd shared this quote that's from Patricia Monahan in the introduction to her book, The Goddess Path: Myths, Invocations, and Rituals. And she is writing about the goddess path, and this is what she says. And this is very paraphrased from a larger introduction. The goddess has never been lost. It is just that some of us have forgotten how to find her, but the path to her is there. The goddess path is within you. To walk it, you must develop your inner resources and strengths. Information and insights will come to you from others. Evaluate them in light of the truths of your own heart. For that is where she lives, even when you forget to look for her. She is always there, providing the love and strength and power you need. Look for her there, and you will always find her. When I created the 30 Days of Goddess practice in the first place, it was based on this craving that I hear from people. Is like, I feel the goddess in my life. I have this sense of her, but how do I bring that in? How do I experience this every day? And 30 Days of Goddess was one answer to that question of how do I feel the goddess afoot in my life. And so I wanted to share that quote with you about that. The path to her is there. The path is within you. And the last year, and I'll link to the video for April's practice last year because it has some other good questions to consider and some information about sacred sameness. One of the things I say about daily practice and about 30 Days of Goddess is it really is about this process of sacred sameness, which opens the door into infinite experiencing. So a daily practice is about creating something that fits into your actual life as it actually is right now, that helps to nourish and sustain and strengthen a spiritual connection, and that you can return to every day. So 30 Days of Goddess helps us create this container and a practice that we can come back to, that we can return to, and in so doing, step into the sacred, return to ourselves, and return to our practices. And then the book, the prayer book itself, ooh, I hit myself in the nose with my prayer beads. The prayer book itself becomes kind of this repository of magic, this portable sacred space, this tiny temple that you can carry with you anywhere. And when you sit down with it, you have this sacred sameness there, but when you open the pages or when you step out outside or at your altar space or into your practice space, you step into this infinite experiencing. So there's a marrying there between sacred sameness and infinite experiencing. So the video from last year is about that sacred sameness and infinite experiencing, and I'm including some questions about that on the monthly practice snapshot cards for this month, because I think it's important. And then one of the other questions there is, how do you practice the presence of the goddess in your everyday? So there's companion audio called Goddess Every Day that I will link to as well. And I would love to invite you to consider that. The goddess path is always within you. She's always right here with you. And how do you practice the presence of her in your everyday? I find for me, I've shared this in various other resources, as I used to have this more theoretical kind of conceptualization of the goddess, this more academic kind of sense. And now it is more like she's a wellspring of joy or connection that exists below the surface of my life at all times. And so I may above that depth, I may get busy or buzzy or distracted or pulled in a lot of different directions, and yet below the surface she's always there, like a wellspring of connection, of affirmation, of strength, of joy, and of sacred experiencing, like always there beneath the surface. So how do you practice the presence of the goddess in your everyday? That's the other question that I would invite you to consider this month. So remembering that you can go to 30daysofgoddess.com for all the things that you need, and that you can pick and choose and mix and match from the practices that I offer in order to create something that fits your own life, that suits you, that nourishes, supports, and encourages you, knowing that the things that I make are out there to support you, but not to create a to-do or a have-to or a prescription. It only an invitation and a opportunity to pick what works for you in creating sacred practices that fit your life and that support you where you are. And so I'm going to go ahead and end with the poem from the end of April's prayer book. And once more, inviting you to take a deep breath, put a hand on your heart. And so we stand once more at the edge of beginning, our hopes in our hands and stars in our eyes. May we continue to be present for our lives as they are. May we bear witness to the unfolding. May we attend to what matters most. May we return to our bodies back to center as often as we can. May we listen to our own wisdom and trust the light of desire to guide our way. May we always remember that our attention is our most precious magic and our most powerful prayer. May we inhabit it well and wisely. As we cross the threshold, we find that we begin again and again. May we find both faith and trust in the ongoing cycles of being and becoming in which we move. Thank you so much for being here, and many blessings to you as you walk through this month with love, treating yourself as a most honored guest in your own heart. Thank you. Bye-bye.